Apparently, the Ferrari Purosangue is now worth $1 million. And today we're going to talk about why, on a very long voyage ahead of us, which can't begin yet, because there's another problem. And it's so funny, I'm almost laughing about it, how unlikely this would be to have happened again. But we're driving all the way from here in beautifully sunny Monaco, back through France on our way home to the Shmuseum, about 900 miles, 1,500 kilometers on the Purosangue to wrap up this tour. Now, I've been receiving offers almost daily for this thing. I'm not about to be selling it. It's amazing to see the demand around Ferrari's SUV that's not an SUV, and we're going to touch on that later on. But firstly, we've got something that we need to get fixed before we can go anywhere. A Maison Blau GT3 RS, new one, 992 just drove past. Missed that, sorry, but welcome to Monaco, where there are some incredible cars, and apparently there's a lot of construction. Construction means a lot of loose nails, things on the ground, things that destroy tyres. And if you followed this journey in the earlier stages, when this car pinged up a warning light, which we know how to fix now, will be fine when we get home, we were driving to Ferrari Koln, Cologne, Germany, and got a puncture on the way, on the rear left. Would you believe it, but I now have a bit of metal sticking out of the rear right. It's unbelievable. 23-inch winter tyres, pretty much only for this car, very hard to get. And I noticed it because when I got in the car, it pinged up a low tyre pressure warning. I inflated it overnight, so we've got a little bit of air in here to get us to somewhere where we can now go and get it changed, or not changed, hopefully repaired, because it's bang in the very centre. I just can't believe it. Twice in one road trip, different corner. That's 4 in 3 months for me now. What's strange is that I put some air in it last night, and it's held most of that. Hasn't gone down anywhere nearly as much as it had beforehand. So we should be okay. There's a G63 just coming past at the moment. In fact, while we've been here, while I was on this spot filming the XJK LaFerrari, we had the Aston Martin Valkyrie go past. I was also just over there, and a Mercedes McLaren SLR Sterling Moss went past. Welcome to Monaco. SLR Sterling Moss, what? Just Monte Carlo things. Anyway, the plan ahead. First stop, Le Pneu. Go and plug the tyre, figure out what's wrong with it. Second stop, Lyon, after we've gone up the French autoroutes. It's a long drive ahead of us. Third, potential stop in Paris, depending how we are with timing, before we're at the Eurotunnel to cross over to England to head back into the Shmuseum to wrap up what will be in the region of 4,500 kilometers of driving the new Purosangue across Europe, arguably completely destroying the value of it, which, as I said, is a topic I want to discuss because the hype around this thing, the demand for this thing has been through the roof in a way I never expected. And I am super lucky to be a very early owner of one. So let's get this started. Let's hope we can get to the tyre place and get that sorted so we can get on the way. Let's get underway. It is a beautifully sunny day as we go past some of the massive yachts here in the main port in Monte Carlo, Monaco. It's been a brilliant couple of days. Just the cars around here are amazing. And to have come here with one of the first Purosangues in the entire world. But our first stop is 3.5 kilometers away, 5 minutes, which is significantly less than the journey that's going to follow that later on. Gosh, I'm being absolutely blinded by the sunshine over the top of the Ferris wheel in front of us. So let's hope it's going to be without incident. It's going to be an uneventful journey home. This trip, if you've been following it, has had so many tangents and curveballs. I would very much welcome a leg that is smooth. Bugatti Chiron in the showroom right there. Always very nice. Lots of nice cars. Just lots and 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 lots. But this is a special car, this. And this is a car that's amazed me, the number of people that have looked at it, pay attention to it, interested in it, because Monaco is often where you see the first of pretty much any new model car, but this, I guess, was one of them, from what I've seen and heard from people as we've been driving around. Anyway, we are in a tunnel, which means I probably should go manual, drop some gears, just enjoy a little bit of it. We've literally just started the engine, so I'm not going to boot it for the time being. We're halfway to the first stop. On the car here, you can see the tyre pressure chart. So we're roughly 2.4 bar on every corner at the moment. But the rear right, last night I had inflated to 2.8, while the others were all still 2.4. So you can tell there's a problem, which is another very good reason not to boot it, and why we've got to go and get this sorted. This is where we're coming, Le Pneu. Fun story, I've actually been here a couple of times before. I had to buy a new tyre for my FF in the past, and I also had to get a plug on my 981 GT4 back in the day. Feels like a long time ago now, but hopefully we can safely maneuver in and figure out what we need to do. We can car spot while we wait. There's a Ferrari Roma just down there. Titanium bolts removed, wheel off, and this is the problem. That is very definitely a problem. Metal piece sticking into the tyre. There's just a stone there. I think that's not an issue at all. Yeah, that's completely fine. But that one, yeah, that's why we're here. That is wedged inside. Yup. That is a proper nail, and you hear the air now. Okay. Monaco things, it happens. While the guys are currently repairing that tyre, I know what you're thinking, repairing versus replacing. I can't get a new one right now. That is totally impossible, and we've got a long journey ahead of us. So a repair on a winter tyre, it's the same process as for a summer. I'm okay with it because this is hardly a car that I'm about to, on winter tyres, do any track laps, Nürburgring driving, VMAX runs on the Autobahn. So it'll be okay. It'll certainly get us back home, especially with the speed limits just driving in France. It's okay to do a repair, especially in the central 3/4, 70% of a tyre. That's where you can get away with it. So they'll get that done. It'll be a nice, smooth, quick process. We'll get the wheel back on and problem solved. Porsche spotting, although turbos and Turbo S's are everywhere. With the wheel off, you can see just how much in dire need this thing is of a proper clean, which will all be in the works once we get back home. And of course, also see the incredibly fantastic Multimatic damper and suspension system that makes it so brilliant to drive. That is why, despite being big and heavy, it drives like a Ferrari. And we now have our repaired wheel and tyre ready to go back on. Nice and easy does it. Massive 23-inch wheel, not exactly the lightest thing in the world, but yeah, we'll be on the way in no time. We're good to go. Tyre pressure's done, everything's set back up. This is exactly the best result I could have hoped for to start today, as we now head to another little stop on our way out of town before this journey is really going to continue. I tell you what I am going to miss is this sunshine. I mean, you can't really see very much at the moment, and we're coming to a stop for a traffic light. But the weather the last few days has been genuinely glorious for this time of year. We are heading home to not this, let's just say. Not this at all. It is going to be cold, wet, and miserable. But I tell you what, for the very long journey that we have ahead of us, this is a spectacularly comfortable way to do it. And this is where the Puro excels so much. On one hand, when you're driving a nice twisty road, letting it rev up, sounds amazing, feels like an 812 Superfast. On the other hand, you can sit back and it is the ultimate in super grand tourer. It is genuinely as good as a car could possibly get at the current time for a drive like this. But let's make a little bit of progress, get onto the A8 Autoroute as we make our way towards Nice. Different route to the last few times where I've gone via the Route Napoleon, but we're going to be heading basically more directly up on the highways towards our night checkpoint in Lyon. Given that earlier in this trip we went past Munich's Allianz Arena in Germany, in Munich, we are now here at the Allianz Riviera in Nice. But what I wanted to talk about is what's in front of us, as I have mentioned a few times in the past, the télépéages, which are where, if you have one of these little things, it makes yourself have a massively easier journey. And I'm going to pop the link to these down below, which saves you some money and saves me some money as well. But effectively, if you have this stuck on your windshield as you drive straight through here in France, and I also have them for Spain, for Italy, for all sorts of other places, it just opens up for you as if by magic, and out you go, and just invoices you once at the end of the month without having to stop for the queues, the traffic jams, taking a ticket, dealing with paying for it, and all of the other mess that's involved. And then when you get out the other side, the road opens up, we can drop some gears, and that's all we've got. That would be the speed limit. Back into comfort mode. So yeah, if you don't already use one of those, and I'm sorry for the low winter sun, I would recommend it if you're on a road trip heading anywhere around Europe, because it makes life massively easier, saves you a load of time, and makes things less stressful, and you get some money off and I get some money off as well, which is really cool. This time is going to be a bit of a win because there's a lot of traffic here and not very many booths open. I say that, there's only a short queue at each of the respective booth places, but either way, the fact that we've got this thing means that we will go through much quicker than having to stand in any queue because you don't have to wait for the tickets. In the summer, this makes a massive, massive difference when you have big traffic jams, like a massive difference. Look at the doggos traveling in the back of the X3. Oh, they've looked away. They were cute though. Oh no, they're still there. As you might expect for a big tour around Europe, there's been a lot of this filled up a bit early. We've got about a 100-litre tank, so that's not too bad. Not on the cheap side, but not too bad. Anyway, I will try later on to add up a kind of total for driving the Purosangue, but as you can imagine, 6.5-litre V12, four-wheel drive, not particularly light, it's a big bill. It's a big, big, big bill. As winter evenings go, this is not all that bad. The view out to the side, we're alongside a river, across over the plains with the sun starting to set, very much winter sunset. Very nice way to wrap up today. We've got a couple of hours still on the road ahead of us, but yeah, not going badly. The kind of funny thing as we're about to pull up to our hotel car park here is that I've stayed here a fair few times before, and each time I've been a little bit anxious about this, the entrance to the car park, because that is very narrow, but I managed to get the Ford GT in there, so I figure I'm going to be able to. It's just going to take us a bit of hopping out, being careful, and going bit by bit. We'll enjoy some parking sensors going a little bit crazy here, but a couple of centimeters to spare, we're through. Now we've got to navigate the bottom. Well, this is what I'm watching for. Tight garages in France. Oh, that's all right. We had about 5 centimeters there. All right. This is how you do it. Down we go. This goes down as interesting parking. Last time we were here, we parked in that far corner, which would have been fabulous. Empty, deserted, just what you want, but they've closed that. So I decided out of all of the spaces here, because none of them are long enough for a car as big as this, and if you park in one of these spaces, the car, like genuinely, if I took one of these spaces here, I think the Purosangue would be hanging out to like this. You wouldn't be able to drive past it. So that wasn't an option. So I squeezed the car in like this at a stupid diagonal angle, as close to that column as I dared go, because I've parked in garages in France quite a few times in my life, and I've had multiple times when I've come back to my car and it's been damaged. And I don't want something like this, the carbon fiber aero wheel arch, the wheel arch flare as it's called, to get scraped, even though it's got PPF, so it'll probably be okay. So hopefully this guy is going to easily just go out without, I mean, basically you'd have to go hard locked to get that. So we should be fine. So it's parked really badly, but that's road trip life. When you're in a car like this, you need to look after it, you need to keep it safe to the other side. So time to get bags out, go have dinner, have a rest here in Lyon, and get ready tomorrow morning for the long one. Good morning from a much colder Lyon than yesterday in Monaco. We are right beside the river. This place is basically Little Paris with the architecture, the style of buildings, everything that's around, but we've got some long drives ahead of us. Now, we pulled the car out already. Silly me, I forgot to turn on the microphones down below, but basically we had a change of neighbour, and the new neighbour had parked very much to my side of the parking space, which means if I hadn't tried to do that squeezing in thing next to the column, it would have been closer than I would have been comfortable with. Anyway, today we're setting off from here in Lyon. We've got about a 4-hour drive up to Paris, then a 3-hour drive from there to the Eurotunnel, then the crossing under the sea, and a couple of hours onwards to the Shmuseum to finally bring this back home, hopefully without this curse continuing. No more problems, please. Let's have a smooth sailing, simple journey from here home. The super convenient thing about coming here is that the centre of Lyon is basically less than a kilometre from the main motorways. So we're literally rejoining just here. If you're heading from Monaco up towards Paris or London or vice versa, you are very, very close. And of course, looking out to the left, you have the really quite nice views in the city centre. But we shall join this highway towards Paris, A6, just like that, and ready to make some progress. It is cold and gloomy today, and we're doing this again. There'll be a couple of these today when you do a 1,500 kilometre journey, just over €2. This is a lot emptier, 530 kilometres since the last fill up. Oh well, We gotta do what we gotta do. Well, check out that view as we come down the hill here. Kind of lost in the clouds, but the skyline of Paris. We are, of course, arriving. Oh, that was a bit of a sketchy overtake there. Yeah, that quickly got lost, but nonetheless, we're nearly there, which is quite exciting. We're somewhere in the city. I mean, this is the Seine, the river. We're literally crossing that, and then up ahead, blind spot monitoring beeping away at me. In fact, somewhere the Eiffel Tower should be dead in front of us, but we can't see that right now. Follow the nav and hope it ends up in the right place. We're going to head in roughly that direction of La Tour Eiffel, and just see where Paris takes us for the moment. That's where we're heading. It would be lovely if it was a sunny day like yesterday, but some things we don't have control over. We've just got a cruise, and it's going to be raining later on, but hey, it is what it is. I do still need to talk a bit more about this though, about the Purosangue, about what I was saying earlier around the values of these things and how crazy they are. What's kind of fun is that over the years, we have stopped here in many different cars. We had Ring Wing Ting when we came here with a few of the different Shmuseums, the GT3, GTR, GT8, 675 LT. We came here on the Black Series tour with the 3 Black Series and the G-Wagon, and it's a pretty breathtaking view, isn't it, behind? And now, of course, here with the Purosangue very briefly before we continue this drive. But yeah, it's nice to stop here spontaneously on today's very long leg, because it wasn't really in the original plans, but I'm not complaining about it. Well, this is completely random. I think we're about to see a baby reveal, Mr. and Mrs., and it looks like they're up to something. But we were just having a chat with some police officers who had been around for a little bit of time. Wait, are they doing it right now? There we go. It's a boy. What funny timing. What funny timing. The things that happen here. So what I was going to say was we've just been chatting with some police officers who are taking a look around this. The first time they've seen a Purosangue. So opening up the bonnet, having a look around the inside, starting it up, that kind of stuff. And we were talking about social media, and they were mentioning how they follow GMK and Pog, both guys you've seen on the channel before. So if either of you guys are watching, the police are watching you. So just be aware of that. And then, of course, we go straight from that to this. It's all sorts of things happening right now. Anyway, it's time for us to head on. And one thing that's quite fun about this, by the way, like, look at this dip. This is a massive, massive dip. I have a button here in the center for Lift Plus, as it's called. This car has a lift system by default, but it's only a couple of centimeters. If you opt for Lift Plus, it can lift even higher, Lift Plus on, and it means a dip like this, which is genuinely horrific. And this is where, yes, I know, if you had a full SUV, that would be a non-issue. This is not an SUV, to stress it again. It's a Ferrari GT car, but it means you can get over a dip like that just fine. There are now blue balloons flying around everywhere. What an eventful way to turn the afternoon. So we're going to go for a little drive, maybe a spot of car spotting, see what we find on our way out of here as night falls in Paris. But that's just gone from chatting with police to baby gender reveal to Lift Plus to it's all happening at once. I wonder what's going past. Always fun when there's a little police cavalcade. This is crossing back over the Seine, and in front of us here, directly in front, is Avenue Georges V, up past the Four Seasons and goes up to the Champs-Élysées. But I tell you what, while we're driving this car around the centre of Paris, right, and this is about to be a cobbled street, this is the same car that we've enjoyed on nice twisty mountain passes in Italy, driven around the centre of Monaco, and now here in the absolute chaos that is the French capital, because this place is complete carnage. Honestly, it's mayhem when you drive around here. It's as good a time as any as we head towards the Arc de Triomphe just at the end of the Champs-Élysées to talk about the Purosangue and about what's happened with the market of the Purosangue, because I believe currently, other than the Zenvo, which is obviously a slightly different thing, this would be the most expensive car that I own, the second most expensive Shmemobile, more than the Ford GT, more than the SLS Black Series, because demand for these is through the roof right now. The highest offer that I've seen for this is £775,000 net. That's £930,000, including taxes, for one of these. Remember, it cost under 400,000, and those numbers are pretty normal around Europe. 900,000 euros net, that kind of thing. That's about, what, 1.1 million euros, $1.2 million, something like that, for this car, a car that you would typically expect to tank in value. If you look at the 612s, FFs, GTC4 Lassos, that's the tradition of a 4-seat V12 big Ferrari. They lose money. They don't make money. This is a weird thing. Now, a few reasons for that, because all the people who have these right now are like me, people who love Ferrari, love the brand, and are not going to sell them, as we genuinely have carnage right now. I don't really know why this guy on our left is trying to turn, because there's not really anywhere for him to turn to, and we're a bit stuck. Maybe he wants to go up that side road. Let me see if I can reverse back and somehow let him through. Welcome to the carnage of Paris. The guy behind is blinking. I obviously have cameras in a brand new car. Lots of cameras, lots of beeps. Like I was saying though, people who have a car like this now are lucky Ferrari customers for sure, and very lucky to have one, and not about to be selling it. So supply versus demand, people who couldn't secure an allocation for one of these, obviously happy to pay big because it's the latest thing in this segment. That's a big part of it. Those values are not going to stick around. There's no way in the future this could possibly carry that kind of value, but the reason for it is it's such a wonderful car. Now, there are tons of SUVs which are Lamborghini, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin, etc. Really nice cars, but this is first and foremost a Ferrari that just so happens to be more practical. I've likened it to driving an 812 Superfast. The engine and gearbox combo, the weight distribution, everything about this feels so familiar from the 812, yet it goes beyond that because it's more practical, it's more comfortable if you want it to be. I mean, we've been driving up this road with the carnage that's all around us, the cobbled streets, people not having a clue what they're doing and where they're going. And that's where you have almost a Rolls-Royce-like experience from it, from the soft suspension, from the quietness, from the calm. But on the other hand, on the mountain pass, you unleash, open up, and it's an absolute animal. Now, this is the Four Seasons George V Hotel, George V Hotel. Is there going to be anything lurking around? I don't see anything right now, apart from some big illuminated BMW grills. Not spotting any supercars this time, but over the years, I've filmed many a cool car there. So the thing that boggles my mind, like I said, is that at this moment in time, this is like one of the most expensive cars that I own, even though it didn't cost me that per se. That's its market value. That's where it's positioned right at this time, which is madness, absolute and total madness. But I can see why driving it. It's such a lovely thing to enjoy. It's such a nice car to drive around in. So it makes sense. Supply and demand, that's economics. That's kind of how it works, right? That's how these things are. Oh my goodness, this place is a madhouse. And this is where we're going to be turning onto the Champs-Élysées, and it gets even more mad. Just going to roll with it. Just stay calm. Keep calm and carry on. Oh, we just went past an AMG GT Roadster and I was barely even looking because of everything happening. Then we pull out onto the Champs-Élysées, which has the Arc de Triomphe up at the very top. That ambulance is having a tough time getting through. This is the particularly famous roundabout up here that is absolute chaos. The L'Étoile, the star. This is funny being filmed from the bikes as we try and make our way through. Is effectively a roundabout where people entering have priority and there are no distinct lane markings. So you just kind of go with it. And there are scooters, and there are taxi drivers, and there are tourists, and there's everybody who's lost. And that's what makes it an adventure. It's also a bit of a throwback for me because one of my first ever road trips on the channel was in my Audi S5 Cabriolet, and I came here and made a video of driving that thing around this roundabout junction thing. And it was all over the place. I mean, a bit like it is now. Technically, these guys have to wait for us because we've just joined, so they have to wait until we drive past. Yeah, he didn't. But we're somewhere. Take the inside line. Take the inside lane right around the Arc de Triomphe on the left of us. Obviously a very famous monument. And just go with it. Right now, just go with it. The Tesla has priorities. You're going to go. Yeah, there we go. And I'm the idiot who would do this in a Purosangue. This is like accident central. We're going to go full 360. Eyes to the right. What's coming on? Nothing right now. This is actually not too bad. I've been around here when it's been far worse than it is right now. But you certainly want to have your wits about you. Maybe come back to the Champs-Élysées side and you see with everybody entering, you've got to let them all go first before we go around. Maybe this is going to work. I don't know. Just wait. Patience. Patience. This has actually been controlled, you know? Been here when it's been significantly harder than this to figure this out. But nearly there. Yep, we've got a gap. So which road are we taking? One of the exit roads up here. This is going all right. We are going to survive the Arc de Triomphe. We're going to get out of here without disaster. Imagine if the curse of the Purosangue had continued here. That would not have been good. Thankfully though, last car on, then we're good to go. Oh, and a bike. No, we're good. And we can take this exit. Or maybe not. The Audi isn't even taking that exit. The car came from the left across the front, and then the car from the right is going left. I don't know. We're good. We're safe. And I tell you what, we're also a little bit late for the Eurotunnel. It's been fun. It's been worth it. Look at this. Look at this junction right now. It started raining. It's absolute pandemonium. Like, if we get out of this without getting hit by somebody, I have no idea how we've been successful with that. It's actually starting to pour down with rain, and this is complete and total chaos. This is complete and total chaos. This is ridiculous. Emergency vehicles, traffic jams like you wouldn't believe, and this is, we didn't even start at the beginning of this. People drive within centimetres of each other. Oh my gosh, driving through Paris at rush hour? Bad idea. Bad idea. Hey, we're through the junction though. Whew, breathe. To the right here is the Stade de France, Paris Saint-Denis, the French national football stadium, 80,000 seater stadium. We've gone from Nice to the French national team, and the highway kind of goes out and around it. Sorry, it's super dark now and wet and kind of still slow, which isn't great. Tunnel sous la Manche. So we fast forward, a ton of traffic, a lot of rain, and another fuel stop. And finally we're arriving here at the Eurotunnel. So we'll head to the check-in. We are a little bit late. The booked departure leaves in 22 minutes. We're not going to be making that one. So hopefully it will be the next one after that. But let's find out shortly. The funny thing about being right here is that the last time we were here was the unexpected return with this back to the UK. So despite being only, what, about a month old, this is the second time this car has taken the Eurotunnel. It's the third time, technically, it's gone from the continent to England, which is quite funny because obviously it was built in Maranello and then it was brought over. But we've been given a train that's about an hour later than normal. They make you do this up and down zigzag, which when there's busy traffic makes sense, but right now doesn't make any sense at all, to be completely honest. And every time you've got these pretty narrow curbs to drive between, which I'm a little bit scared of, but we're okay. We are good. This was a much longer wait than we wanted, but finally we head down here towards the trains to go and board. It's gonna be a long day, this one. It's about 10 PM now. Oh, that car sounds so nice. Wait, neutral. Yeah. It's boarding time. I guess those cars coming alongside me are actually cars coming off. They are. That's how quick the turnaround is. They're coming off from the previous one. So we are in the single deck, the wider, taller carriages. And in this car, which, wait for it. Yeah. It's been a long day. It's been a very long day. It looks like time to get off, so engine start. We're in wet, so it's quiet. And in a moment, yeah, here we go. Off we go straight away. Time to roll out of the train. Out we go. Right. That is the end of that one. Thank you to the team here at the Eurotunnel. Touchdown England. Pretty dark, but time to drive onwards to base. We are back at the Shmuseum. It is always exciting to get back home after a couple of weeks, even if it's earlier than intended. It's been an eventful journey and a half, from initially, well, the delays and cancellations, let's not even go into that. But first up, the warning lights popping on, so we're heading to the dealer. When we then find a nail in the rear left, then we get the paint splatters that we still need to deal with, and then a nail in the rear right. I cannot believe the curse of the Purosangue during this trip. However, this car now has 3,000 200 miles. Certainly not the highest in the world. I know there are customers who have already driven even more than that, especially going down from Germany to Italy and back multiple times, things like that. But regardless, probably the highest UK mileage Purosangue in the world, and certainly a car that's going to do tons more miles in the future, because that's what something like this is for. Now, talking miles, it wasn't even run in when we left. I think we had about 450 miles when we left for the first time on this trip. It's now 3 and a bit thousand. So that means I've spent a whole lot on fuel. To give you some of the numbers, UK MPG figures that we have done over this tour in this car, 16.5. US figures, US MPG, that is 13.7. Yes, different gallons, very confusing. To put some context around that, the Dark Horse, instead of 16.5 on the recent US tour, did 22.2, which is 18.5 instead of 13.7. And that's not exactly an efficient engine. Obviously, it's a big car, it's a heavy car, it's a four-wheel drive car, it's got a V12 you want to listen to. So when it comes to fuel economy, doing 10,000 miles a year in this, well, that would be a lot of money. That'd be a lot of money to spend on petrol, gas for the Americans out there. So that's a consideration. However, if buying a Purosangue, arguably that's not necessarily priority number one. It's just something to be aware of, something to think about. The V12, however, is amazing. So what can I say about the Tour? This thing has handled a trip like that so well. And you guys know how much I love doing trips in different Shmuseums. Think of the miles in the GT Black series, which obviously is much more of a track weapon, but also amazing on the long distance. GT500 as well. Even trying with the SF90 and Ford GT with no luggage space. But let's be real, when it comes to winter and bad weather and wanting to lug lots of thicker clothes, it's much easier in summer. In summer, just a few shirts, change of clothes, nice and easy. In winter, jackets, jumpers, and all sorts. And of course, four-wheel drive with winter tires. While it might not have been the easiest to find, well, I say that, we got pretty lucky finding one. Winter tires, and in this case, the Michelin Pilot Alpines that we have on here, absolute no-brainer. We didn't manage to find any snow. The various plans I had to go and find some snow, in fact, in both directions, both got cancelled. So unfortunately, that hasn't happened for now. Hopefully it will in the future. It would be pretty cool to go and see what this thing is actually like when you throw some nasty weather at it, particularly with the right rubber on the tires, on the wheels, to make sure we can get through. I absolutely love the spec more and more, the more time I've spent around it. I know it's elegant, not out there. All I'm going to say is wait for future Shmuseums, because those are going to get a little bit crazier. Also, just to mention, the France, Spain, Italy toll tag devices. I'm going to pop the link down below if you're interested in one of those. If you've got an upcoming road trip next summer, make sure to grab one. It will make your life much, much easier. I absolutely promise. So yes, this has been eventful, but we're home. The car is home, the car is fine, the journey is done, it is complete. It is time, I guess, to give this thing a little bit of a rest while we gear up for what's going to come next. I can actually take the Austrian vignette off. Now in Austria, you can buy a short one and a long one. I'm not going to do that on camera because I'm going to make a complete mess of it. I bought the longer one thinking I'd go back through Austria and then didn't. Of course, in the boot, I actually took out the boot floor. We've got some random stuff in here, but this boot floor sits back on top of here. We left it here. I'll tidy all of that up a little bit later. I wonder if that makes it any quieter. Not that I would want it quieter. Talking noise, talking V12 engine noise. It would be nice, like with the FF and the Lassos, to have some kind of switch to control the valve, something like that. I don't know if a car that I use on a regular basis like this, I want to be stupid loud. I feel like maybe there's an itch that needs to be scratched of the 812 variety to do that at some point. But this sounds really nice, I want to say, without being too much. And I think that's important. So I should wrap it up there. We set off from Monaco via a night stop in Lyon, on the way to Paris, quick visit to the Eiffel Tower, Eurotunnel back home, a load of traffic, a load of bad weather, a big change from the sunshine that we had down in the south of France. But that's it for now. Thank you very much for joining the journey, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!